The story opens on a brutal scene. Over her, a man kneels and admits he was the one who killed her, and not just once, he's done this 99 times on repeat. He forces himself up. This is his last chance, and he swears to Daimi that this time he won't fail. It all began back then, when he was late-night doom-scrolling at home, sitting on his bed in the dark. The reporter announced strange creatures were suddenly emerging, and that was when the world collapsed in an instant. Daimi walks in and asks why he's staring like that. And damn guys, I have to admit this girl definitely needs to be saved, so he fought trying to protect her. But he couldn't, and to him, his world shattered. Not being able to bear the burden, he ended his own life. Right after, a bright light flooded the darkness, and a goddess appeared, smiling as she told him he'd get another chance. He comes to his senses again, back in the present, drenched in sweat, trying to wrap his head around how he's back at the beginning. He checks the mirror and notices something. There is a number floating above his head, and it says 99. Without thinking about it, he runs to Daimi's room and pounds on the door. She opens it, annoyed, asking what he's doing in the middle of the night. But he jump-scare grabs her shoulders and asks if she's okay, then drags her out by the wrist, saying there's no time and they need to run or they're dead. As she follows him, he tells her that there is no time to explain, and if they don't hurry, just then a zombie lunges at him. He dies and snaps awake, screaming, back in the same place he just woke up in. He looks in the mirror again, the number has dropped to 98. That's when it clicks. The number is his remaining lives. The count of chances he has to save his daughter. From there, it's life after life of fighting. He uses anything he can pick up, pipes, bats, knives to somehow survive. He doesn't care about keeping his humanity anymore. He does whatever keeps Daimi alive, but in the end, Daimi dies again and again. He swings harder each time his strike's sharper. He gives it his all, trying to protect Daimi, and still, the number keeps ticking down. Slowly, he realized that even if he had 100 or 1,000 chances, a weak father like him would never be able to protect his daughter. Then he points the weapon at himself and ends it, choosing the reset over grief. The count drops and he wakes to try one more time with tears in his eyes. Although it is not easy for him, he still gets up, preparing for another chance. His daughter wakes up, confused, and asks why he's being so loud at this hour. She steps out and sees him already in survival gear with a knife. Shocked and not understanding a thing, he meets her eyes, looking like a psycho, and reaches his hand out to her. Then he pulls her into a tight hug, relieved she's here and safe. He tells her he'll save her no matter what, even if he fails 1,000,000 times. As long as he's alive, he'll protect her. He asks her to trust him on this journey, and though she's confused, she looks like she believes him. With only one life remaining, he finally arrives at Dijon, carrying his daughter in his arms. He found the perfect shelter. It took 99 attempts to finally find the perfect shelter. The army guarded the gates and kept everyone safe, with a full medical team treating the injured. Order never collapsed there. The place turned into a paradise. He lived a long time, grew old in a wheelchair, and after 40 years found himself at his daughter's grave. That's why he has to be careful now. This is his last chance to save her. He knows the plan that can change their fate, and he realized that shelter isn't dangerous and will be their final destination. Now certain he's about to take his own life one last time, he closes his eyes and gets ready. He wakes up with everything on the line. He and his daughter gear up to start their final survival run. He looks at her with steady determination, and she looks ready for whatever comes next. He remembers Daimi always died before reaching the shelter because of the mistakes he kept making. He spent 40 years rehearsing to keep her alive, with his hand on the doorknob as he gets set to start the perfect plan without a single slip. He opens the door, serious and prepared. He won't make any mistake, and for better or worse, he is greeted by an army of zombies right outside. A variable he never planned for even in 40 years and tens of thousands of rehearsals. He freezes. In 99 attempts, this has never happened. He just blanks. This is the one scenario he didn't account for because the beginning had never changed for him. Not for the past 99 attempts. The horde rushes in with red, hungry eyes. Poim. Panic hits as his plan falls apart. He just stands there not knowing what to do, and as the zombies are about to devour him, his daughter's scream snaps him into motion. He shoves her back. She hits the floor, and he slams the door, throwing his weight against it. He strains to hold the door and keep them out, while she hurries him to get back to her, terrified and confused. She screams again from the floor, then gets up and asks what he thinks he's doing, pounding on the door and begging him to open it and let her out. Outside, the zombies swarm him, and he screams as they overwhelm him. With his last breath, he feels the pain of failing her again, while, on the other side, his daughter cries at his sacrifice. For him, this kind of death is already familiar. He is used to it now. As he fades, he remembers when she was a baby, her smile back when he was a young, hopeful dad whose only worry was keeping her happy. In his thoughts, he asks his daughter not to cry anymore. He'll protect her with his life, even if it costs his last chance to live. He closes his eyes, wondering if this is it, if this is how he is going to die forever. He stomps the ground and says he won't give up, then shoves the zombies back with raw dad strength. He grits his teeth furious and yells that, as long as his daughter is alive, He can't die, this is his last shot, and he won't waste it. A burst of power surges through his body and blasts the undead away from him. One zombie hits the floor as he drops into a stance. The creature just stares confused. He charges in fast, cutting through anything in front of him. A zombie bites into his shoulder and tears out a chunk, and so does he, then grabs another body and uses it like a club, leaping and smashing one into another. Another one rushes him, and he drops it with a single hit. He's bleeding all over, but still stands ready. His power flares. He's not just human anymore. And as he glares back at them, the rest of the creatures rush him. Inside, his daughter is still on the floor, probably expecting the worst. Then the door creaks. She peeks through the crack with tears in her eyes, and he appears in front of her, torn up and bloody. He tells her not to worry, even if he isn't human anymore, somehow. In his transformation, he looks maxed and ascended to Chadlight, and swears he'll protect her to the end. Cut to the Mapapo district in Seal, under a full moon. 7 days after the outbreak, we are at the Mart supermarket, now a survivor shelter. A guard is already mad, shouting about what's going on. Our guy and his daughter run into a squad at the entrance. The guard asks how they got here alive and yells he'll shoot if they don't answer. The man lowers his head and stays quiet. The guard notices his look and asks what's wrong with his face. The soldier's eyes go wide as he realizes our guy is wearing sunglasses. What are you, some celebrity? The soldier asks, the man says nothing. Captain Chahiri steps in and tells the guard to back off. She says there's no space and they should go somewhere else, getting right in his face to repeat it. The soldier glares, not getting what the man wants, so the father says his daughter has asthma and begs them to help, at least take her. He's begging for it. The captain stares at him, processing, calculating risk. Her expression tightens. The guard laughs and asks if the guy's lost it, saying sob stories don't work on their captain. Meanwhile, she is full on crying. She orders them to let the two in, says they actually need more people. She leads them inside while the soldier keeps yelling annoyed. He watches her calm, a faint smile on his face. Captain Chahiri hasn't changed. She's a retired soldier holding the supermarket for the district. She acts cold, but stories of parental sacrifice get to her. Dami calls out, asking what he's doing and complains he didn't follow the plan. He tries to explain, but the soldier catches on and tells her to drop the act and to stop coughing right now. She gets dizzy, and the soldier snaps, asking if she's messing with him. The father pulls her clothes and calms her while checking her. Her mental state is declining, and she needs rest soon. He figures all this chaos kicked off because of 2 unexpected variables. He still doesn't get what's happening to his body. He was bitten, didn't turn to a zombie, and somehow got stronger. Anyways, that supermarket is the perfect place to ride out the early days. Tons of supplies, and unlike anywhere else, real soldiers guarding it. With his daughter finally safe, he spots a nearby building that's been wrecked and asks why it collapsed. A soldier gives him a look, then explains that 3 days ago, a horde hit them. Captain Chahiri led the defense, lured the horde into the building next to the market, and her team escaped on a makeshift zipline. They trapped the zombies inside, blew the charges, and the soldier says they probably got flattened like dried squid. Our guy just stares. Behind his glasses, he's looking at him like he sees something bad. The soldier smirks and goes, "What's with that look? Don't tell me you think any of them survived." Right then, a massive shadow rises behind him. The soldier turns, freezes, and a giant zombie hauls itself out of the rubble with a roar. Tries to end the soldier, but slams the ground hard enough to leave a crater instead. Captain Chahiri is attacked too, but darts in at the last second, the monster's arm tearing up everything behind her, and she squares up to fight. The other soldiers panic, asking where these things even came from. Chahiri moves to shield the dad and his terrified daughter, then yells for everyone to open fire. Bullets smack into the giant, but its skin doesn't give, and it just stares back, pissed and unhurt. It charges and starts crushing soldiers. One guy locks up as his squad gets wiped. The creature raises its hands to finish him, but Chahiri rushes in and pulls him out last second, and she realizes this thing is nothing like the monster she fought 3 days ago. Glancing at the market, she snaps a plan, lure it to the outer barricade. Even that thing won't break through right away. She shouts for everyone to get inside the market. Our guy tries to say something, but she shuts him down and tells him to run. He sprints with his daughter, then stops and turns toward the monster. He plants his feet, launches himself in a single leap, and drives a fist charged with power straight at it. Chahiri keeps moving, then spots civilians still packed on the first floor. They were supposed to be evacuated. She curses and stomps the ground. That barricade plan is dead. So much for plan B. So she decides to pull the monster away, and tells the father and daughter to get inside now. She turns to the girl, worried, and asks why she's alone and where her dad went. Getting mad, Chahiri asks if he ran off and left her to die. The girl calmly points past her and says, "He's right there." Chahiri turns and her eyes go wide. In the middle of the horde, our guy dead center is tearing through the monster zombie with his bare fist. He crushed the zombie's head with one punch. The captain and her soldier stare, stunned. Civilians flinch, and a dad covers his kid's eyes as the monster's body hits the floor. He steps across the bodies and stops on the pile, breathing hard. The soldier walks up with her gun raised. He turns to his daughter and says he's sorry he couldn't keep his promise. He was too scared she'd get hurt. The captain doesn't budge and points her weapon at him, asking who he really is. He stays calm, adjusts his glasses, and says his name is Ryu Minsiak. Dami jumps in, then begs him not to say more, afraid he'll be in danger if he reveals himself as a zombie. He then announces himself as a zombie. Dramatic pause. Expert bro is really trying to push his luck. Chihiri and his daughter both are stunned, and Chihiri asks what that even means, so he says since the outbreak he's been studying their weak points. Then adds it was good to help, and he hopes to work with them. She gives him a fake smile, then grabs him by the collar. Dami screams and the captain snaps at her to stay out of it. He took down a bulletproof monster with his bare hands. His red eyes look like theirs. So is he even human, she asks all up in his face, nearly about to kiss him. And is this zombie expert line a joke? She demands to know if he even is human, holding her knife to his throat. He says her shots did hurt it. The thing was already weak, and he just finished it. He calls it an eater. 2 zombies fused together with tough defense, but a weak jaw that can't take a direct hit. In his head he knows that is of course assuming you hit it with the force of a steel hammer, maybe. Still technically he didn't lie. The captain asks about his eyes. He says it's a genetic condition, points at her, and says glares like hers make him uncomfortable. He steps closer and asks the soldier, "Do I still look like a monster?" The captain holds her stare and lets it slide for now, still suspicious, but even she has to admit a zombie wouldn't protect his daughter like that. The captain says they can stay, she'll allow it for now, and tells our boy to come inside while turning her juicy kayat to him. The soldier warns him, she'll be watching. Got it, expert? She asks, and they move, telling him she'll keep an eye on him, then checks on her injured men as to run up and ask if she's okay. She kicks one of them and yells that in an emergency, civilians go to the parking garage. He says they panicked, and she snaps. They could have gotten everyone killed. If it happens again, she'll handle them herself. One salutes and the other guy doesn't look too happy. Inside, the supermarket is packed with survivors. Sitting on the floor, Demi asks her dad what he was thinking, and says she's relieved he didn't get caught bluffing. She scolds him. Her heart almost exploded from that stunt. Then asks if he already knew Captain Chihiri. He says no, but he remembers all the other lives where he's met her and knows a bluff won't work on her. She's surprised he knows the word bluff. He says he learned it from her. He smiles and says, yeah, she's the one who taught him that word. A quick memory hits him and he's reminded that she actually taught him all kinds of things. Back in the present, he gets up to grab some food and his daughter watches him go, still not sure what to make of him. They share a look, fond but worried, before he heads off. He remembers the time she swiped his sunglasses and made him promise not to tell anyone about his big change. If word got out about his powers, people would try to hurt him, so she told him to lock that secret down. In the present, he admits she was right. If anyone at the shelter found out, they'd panic. He comes back with a box of supplies, calls for her, and finds her asleep on the floor. He sits beside her, covers her with a blanket, and keeps watch, full dad mode. But he can't shake how different everything feels this time. The monsters are showing up way faster than in any of his 99 lives, and they're changing in ways he doesn't recognize. After thinking it through, he lands on the only answer that fits. It's because of him. Cut to the city at night. From the trees in the nearby mountains, something watches the figure, senses him, and Ryu can feel it whether he likes it or not. They are looking for him. About to head to the city, the horde gathers all focused on him and his daughter. Ryu doesn't know if he's messing with their balance or if they're scared of the power he woke up. But either way, he's the wild card now. He's the unexpected variable. He stands before them with a ladder in his hands, seeing every zombie in the area packed into one spot, and he's fine with that. He drops the ladder down to the ground, ready to go, happy he won't have to chase them all over the city. The horde stares him down as he squares up. Ryu is already locked in. He grabs 2 ladders and says he needs to finish this before his daughter wakes up. He still has to make her a meal. One monster charges first. Then the whole horde rushes in with a bigger, stronger zombie, pushing through the pack. He leaps, dodges the heavy swings, and starts swinging back. He smashes one zombie, spins and clips several more, then crushes another's head with a clean hit. His hand starts glowing blue and they seem to mutate. His eyes flare red and he clenches his fist. He channels that power through the ladder and blasts a beam that wipes out the ones in front, right as centipede-like creatures shoot up from the ground, trying to block him. They rear back and spit purple energy, red eyes locked on him, and explosions tear through the front ranks. He jumps in with both makeshift weapons and pours energy into them, cutting down everything around him. He slams the ground and a shock wave blasts the rest back. After the dust clears, he pulls out 2 axes and sends zombies flying with a single swing. A multi-armed creature lunges, but he meets it with a hard kick and drops it instantly, and he keeps fighting. Morning comes, and inside the shelter, his daughter wakes under a sheet, blinking herself awake, then sits up and stretches. She notices someone coming. Her father walks in smiling, asks if she slept well, and hands her a plate with rice shaped like a heart. He says she must be hungry and should eat. acting the complete opposite to his appearance. She looks moved, smiles, and gets ready to dig in. Outside the market it's a quiet morning, but in the captain's office she's tearing into a soldier. The soldier swears the noises between 1 and 5 a.m. were real. This morning's report says every zombie in the area was found lifeless. The captain slams the table, asks how that's possible, even wonders if the monsters vanished in just 4 hours. An idea hits her. She sits down and tells her soldier to gather all survivors now. No time for meetings. The operation to get out of this market is about to start. Meanwhile, a creepy-looking guy is looking through a window. Everyone is amazed at his true. The monsters have vanished overnight. Damie tells her dad she thinks the zombies are really gone too. He sets a yellow helmet on her head, tells her to listen and not take it off for any reason. She's confused as the captain walks up with her team. She uses a megaphone to call everyone together. The captain announces they don't know why, but every zombie in the area is down. But despite that, she says they're leaving right now, headed to the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. The crowd pushes back. A man asks why leave if there are no zombies. The captain says they lost contact with the 2nd Infantry Brigade 3 days ago. It's the only unit left in the region and can take in civilians. However, they received a message, per radio and IO call. She adds she knows who is on the line, Blue Falcon, so she trusts it. Even so, people shout at suicide to follow, based on one cut-off message. One guy yells they're not leaving, because the monsters won't come back. A guy in a cap says he expected this and questions if a man would make the same call. The captain glares and says, "What did you just say?" A voice answers no, and a Ryu steps out of the crowd, calm about it. He says the zombies will come back. The guy in the cap gets in his face, asks who he thinks he is. Ryu tells him if they stay, they'll end up as zombie food. Staying here is just waiting to die, and the guy in cap backs off, nearly having a heart attack by Ryu's intimidating presence. Another guy asks if he can guarantee survival. He says he can't promise anything. He turns to the crowd and asks if they really think they can make it without the soldiers. Ordinary people like them. That quiets everyone. One man admits they'd already be dead without the military. Another says they've only made it this far because of them. The crowd agrees to follow the captain. The captain and her soldier are stunned at how fast he flipped the room. She stares, trying to figure out who he is, but he tells her without her even asking that there's no need to thank him. He's used to talking people through tough situations. He adds he's doing this to protect himself and his daughter too. He holds out his hand and says he trusts her to lead the escape. If she's in charge, they'll make it. She didn't expect that kind of faith, but she nods and gets moving. She tells everyone the operation starts now. She swears they'll all get out of here alive. Outside, the convoy is set buses and a truck lined up. Then they roll out through the city and onto a risky bridge. Nothing about this feels casual. In the bus, his daughter wears the yellow helmet, watching the view, annoyed for having to wear that thing, while the soldiers sit tense. Up front, the captain leads the line, locked in, and a sign shows they're passing Yodo Island. A soldier says it's weird crossing the Han River, but she tells him to stay sharp, saying this is only the beginning. A soldier suddenly yells for the sergeant, and everyone looks as agile zombies jump from the footbridge and ambush the convoy. The captain shouts for civilians and her team to split, go right while she goes left. We get their first weakness, super sensitive hearing, so the soldiers toss cans to draw them off. It works. The horde swings toward the noise and she cheers, telling her squad to keep their distance. But a soldier shouts there are way too many right on them. She orders them to head for the Scionson Bridge. When they arrive, it's wrecked, no way across, so she switches to the second weakness. Zombies only run straight at humans. The truck cuts hard away from the broken bridge, and the zombies don't turn, and they pour off the edge, falling into the river one after another. There are still monsters on the road, and the third weakness. Their backside is their big weak spot. A steamroller suddenly crushes one flat, and Ryu pulls up driving it, yelling that the steamroller is coming through. He keeps rolling, mowing the horde, but then a giant zombie and its pack appear, leaving the captain's team in the truck shocked and scared. Ryu drops him off the bridge and sends the giant and the rest into the water, then stares over the wreckage. The convoy moves again on quieter streets. In the bus, his daughter and an old woman finally rest, but Dami thinks about her dad, worried. A couple of hours earlier, she asked why he had to drive. He said only he can, and she whispered the soldiers might figure out who he really is. Back in the present, someone calls out that the captain's team is back, and Dami spots her dad with them on the steamroller, freezing in shock. He waves, tells her not to worry, he's just helping, and promises no one will find out his secret. The captain suddenly yells for everyone to fall back behind her, right now, as another horde charges. The steamroller surges forward, crushes the blockers, and a soldier shouts they're pushing through together as Ryu floors them. Once they break the line, the convoy finds a quieter road. A soldier up top calls to the captain in relief. As they finally reach a military base, this brigade has held out a long time, and it's a key stop. And making it here in just 8 days is a record for Ryu. Even so, he keeps his guard up. If he slips, Dami could be in danger. At the gate, a soldier praises him, saying he was incredible. The captain admits she'd been worried about bringing him along, but he saved everyone. Someone asks if he used to work construction. He says he just learned by watching YouTube tutorials. He hops off the machine and a soldier thanks him for the help. He says he's just glad they got here safely. Someone shows up and Chihiri tells Ryu to shut up. Sergeant Lee greets the captain, says he was expecting her. She asks how he knows her, and he says Colonel Cha gave him a heads up about a hard-headed female coming to stir the place up. Chihiri asks about Colonel Cha's whereabouts, and someone tells her zombies showed up, so he went there. The captain snaps. She asks if he took troops, and the sergeant says no. He smiles at her, which only confuses her. Apparently, Colonel does stuff like that alone. He is a strong, imposing Sigma male who deals with zombies all by himself. Cut to the back gate. A soldier checks his watch 35 minutes, 27 seconds, and shouts that Colonel set a new record. Colonel smashes a monster's head and says an axe is the best weapon, grinning because he likes fighting with his own hands. He says it's more satisfying to take them down himself. He's the Blue Falcon Colonel Shapongo of the 2nd Brigade. A soldier worries about him, but he laughs in his face. He says at his level he can read the monster's moves and knows their fighting abilities, and he yells that his men would only get in the way. After finishing the last one, he stretches, complains about his back, then grumbles about his unit and wishes someone more capable would show up. A giant zombie suddenly rises, and Colonel turns around asking how it's still alive. It roars and charges. Then Ryu and his stream roller pull up and smash it before the hit lands. The soldiers stare, asking what that was. Colonel squares up with his axe and says that at his level he sees things clearly. A demonic silhouette flickers behind Ryu as he steps out, and Colonel can tell his combat level is insane. Ryu casually introduces himself as Ryu Minchiak, saying he came to help. Colonel raises his axe and swings a serious blow at Ryu, aimed right at his chest. Soldiers scream, not getting why he attacked a civilian. When it's frozen, Ryu stopped the axe with one hand, shocking the Blue Falcon. Colonel yells for everyone to get inside, and for red alert, Colonel narrows his eyes and says, "This man's a monster." Ryu says his eyes can't be fooled, then calls the Colonel by his full name, making him ask how he knew it. With a flick of his fingers, Ryu shatters the axe and tells him he will stay. But Ryu knows talking won't cut it. He'll show him in the way Colonel understands. Colonel smiles ready. Ryu clenches his fist and says he'll show the Blue Falcon who he really is, and drops into a stance. Colonel asks if he really wants to fight, now saying he's seen a lot of lunatics, but he is the craziest of them all. He asks how Ryu knew he wouldn't be interested in talking, and in a blink they rush each other. Colonel accepts the challenge and charges, saying he'll see what kind of guy Ryu really is. A red alert siren blares and civilians are sent to shelters. Back with the others, the captain asks what the alert is and a soldier tells them to follow procedures. Another officer, Captain Gok, walks up and asks if she's Captain Chihiri. She turns and asks what's happening right now, and he snaps back, demanding what she was doing. He points his weapon and says the monster that attacked Colonel mentioned her name. She freezes and asks which monster. He says the name was Ryu Minchiak and asks who that is, so she looks around the crowd and realizes that's her expert. Ryu's daughter hears her father's name and is worried. The fight kicks off. Ryu, unbothered, charges in with his fist on fire and slams Colonel hard enough to break the wall behind him. Seeing that, Colonel yells, asking if he still dares call himself human, and launches a kick at Ryu, who answers by blocking it, and then with another heavy punch to his face. Colonel skids back and barely blocks the punch. Then he counters and lands one clean on Ryu's face. Then both step back to breathe. Colonel suddenly rushes in, grabs Ryu by the collar, and snaps if he's being made fun of. Was that last punch full power? Or is he holding back? Ryu says he was holding back. Colonel gets even angrier, but Ryu stays calm and says if he'd gone all out, Colonel would already be dead. Colonel shuts up. He's felt the gap since the first exchange, and finally gets how wide it is. From the very first moment, every cell in his body was screaming at him about the overwhelming difference. Out of options, Colonel asks what he wants. Ryu says he needs protection to survive. Colonel laughs in his face and asks why a monster like him would need protection. But Ryu says it's not for him. But for Daimi, she is the one who needs it, and she is his daughter. He begs Colonel to let him and his daughter stay with the brigade, then drops to his knees and begs again, shouting he'll do anything if Colonel agrees. Night falls at the base. In the civilian shelter, survivors murmur to each other. One asks if the other heard soldiers talking about a monster, and they suspect Ryu with the red eyes. Meanwhile, he is tied up in a dark room like a prisoner, sitting quietly and waiting. Colonel said, the people he brought can stay, but trusting him was the real problem. Ryu suggested a solution. Keep him isolated, lock him in solitary if they don't trust him, and he'll prove himself, no matter how long it takes. Alone in the cell, he repeats that he's no threat to them. A noise at the window breaks the silence. It's his daughter Daimi smiling at him. He asks if she's okay and she says she is. The soldiers treated them well, and she even got permission to step out because the shelter was too stuffy. He apologizes, which confuses her, then explains he promised not to stand out and broke that promise again. He asks if she's disappointed, but she bonks him on the head and says without him, none of them would have made it there. She tells him to keep his head up and not worry. She trusts him no matter what. Then she remembers the check-in is about to start and wishes him a good night. He smiles and tells Daimi to get some sleep, playing strong for her, then watches her run off from his cell. She heads back toward the shelter with a small smile while he sits in solitary, relieved and thinking about her. Out of his sight, her face tightens with worry, a tear drops, and she quietly cries over what he's stuck in. In the dark, Ryu stands up. Footsteps stop at his door. A captain calls his name and says the brigade commander wants him for a mission right now. Cut to Blue Falcon and his unit in a briefing room. He points at a map and says they found something 20 minutes ago. Sensors picked up survivors and a strange frequency. Speed is critical, so he's sending an elite team and he's going with them. He points at Ryu as the second member. Then he asks if the guy can back up the promise he made to do everything for his daughter. Ryu snaps his cuffs and lets the pieces drop, leaving the soldiers stunned, then looks up and asks when they're leaving. Blue Falcon grins and says, "Right now, the rescue at Gepubble Station starts." Cut to night over a ruined city. Their target is the subway entrance. Inside, a baby is among the survivors with a crowd of scared civilians. Parents try to calm their kid, Dean, who won't stop making noise. A man grumbles about how the kid won't shut up. It's already annoying enough with how cramped it is. An old woman shuts him down, telling him the kid doesn't know any better, and the mom apologizes. The baby stares at the ceiling. It points up, and the mom looks. Something is clinging to the ceiling, watching from the shadows. Its face twists into a one red-eyed, sharp-toothed monster, and it is waiting for its opportunity. Outside, a horde of zombies surges in. A truck barrels through the horde, with Blue Falcon Colonel and Ryu inside. Colonel yells that his truck beats Ryu's steamroller. It's more agile, and speed is what wins here. He holds up two fingers. Two variables. First, the station is collapsing. The entrance and the tracks are buried. Then he points to a tablet. Second, there's an unknown creature trapped in there with the survivors. They can't waste a second. He hands the tablet to Ryu, who looks surprised. The ventilation ducts are still intact, so they'll slip in through the ducts and pull people out fast. Colin Horest Colonel shouts that everyone will get out alive and asks if he's got the plan. We cut back to the subway. The mother wakes to find herself and a bunch of others wrapped in webs on the ceiling, hanging upside down. People are confused and freaking out. She asks what's happening while yelling her kid's name. Right then her web snaps and she slams onto the floor. Someone asks her if she's okay. While she is going crazy looking after her child, she asks a man still stuck if he's seen her kid, and the guy tells her no clue, and to untie him already. He spots the old woman who defended the baby earlier crawling toward him along the web, and asks what she's doing here, and she doesn't look human anymore. The mother suddenly hears someone calling for her. She turns around and sprints to the back of the station, but a stairway there is a dead end, completely blocked. Someone yells at her. That path won't work. Somewhere else, a father shouts for his son to run faster. The boy screams back, there's danger ahead, and the man ends up surrounded by creatures. The mother hears her kid's voice and bolts down the stairs, swearing she'll get there no matter what. She hits the bottom and yells its name, then a massive shadow drops in front of her. A giant monster with a baby's body and spider legs crawls into view, staring at her with hungry eyes. Its face streaked with blood and tears. She freezes, crying and denying what she's seeing, saying this has to be a nightmare. The monster lifts her up and is about to eat her. Then a burst of fire rips through the station, lighting everything up. The giant creature screams as it's engulfed, while the mother lies on the floor watching in despair. A few minutes earlier, Ryu said Colonel tried everything and still couldn't save anyone. He makes it clear the situation is bad, then heads outside, ready to handle this his way since human methods won't cut it. Back to the present, Ryu stands before the mother, about to power up to face the thing. The monster is called a skinwalker. It knocks people out first, and can copy human faces. He says it's a high-level spider type, very dangerous. The creature roars and lunges at Ryu, while firing off a spider web attack at Ryu, but Ryu slams into it before it can dodge, tearing its body apart. No warning, he closes the distance and smashes it with a flaming punch, burning it apart. Knowing that its weakness is fire, he draws back for the final hit, then stops when a voice begs him to wait. He turns and sees the baby's mother, pleading through tears not to hurt her child. In that instant, he realizes the creature isn't finished yet. The creature lets out a roar and snaps its sharp jaws, then blows past our hero and goes straight for the mom. She's on the floor, frozen, until Ryu jumps in front of her, flames rolling off him as he squares up against the monster. The monster goes in to finish Ryu off while he pushes to end it right there. Remembering his promise and Demi's smile, yelling at himself to keep his head up and fight, he slams the ground multiple times, while the monster watches like he is the crazy one. But he hauls himself up again, not done at all, and he throws everything into an attack, moves first, and crushes its face with one punch. It staggers trying to call out for some strange name, and he says that's wrong, then closes in to finish it, no hesitation. The thing sheds its skin and shows its true form while he just stares it down and says, calm like a warning, what's going to come out of that mouth? You are only supposed to scream, that's the only sound you're supposed to make. The monster roars and Ryu gathers all of his strength once again, about to charge in a second time. Cut to the survivors in a hallway, yelling as they brace a door. If that barrier gives, they're done. One guy asks if these are zombies, another tells him to shut up and help, tension spiking as smoke pours in, and everyone coughs. A young man panics that they'll die like this. The older man yells at him, but someone calls out for his dad, and the son asks if he doesn't feel something off. The son points at the door. The creature's movements just stopped, and the place goes dead quiet, too quiet. Then the door explodes inward, hurling people across the hall. The son screams at his dad to get down as the frame shatters completely. The man stares at the figure in the doorway and asks who he is and what he wants. From behind we see it's our guy carrying the mom, his body covered in wounds. Cut to right before the Goopubble Station rescue. The entry route is a ventilation duct and Colonel comes right up to it. The Blue Falcon and his squad form up, and the ventilation cover is blown into the air. Realizing it must be Ryu, Colonel starts smiling in excitement. They end up saving 37 people. As the soldiers are retrieving any remaining survivors, one pulls something out of a weird web. One of them just stares, not sure what it is, and turns out it is the mother's baby. The mother clutches it while troops form a ring around her looking stunned. Getting everyone out of there is called a miracle. Daimi says that's when her father became someone special. In the celebrating crowd, she watches stunned while everyone hails him as the man of miracles. Covered up, he waves with a smile. Captain Shahiri and a soldier are stunned. The soldier calls him incredible while the Blue Falcon cheers that he passed the test. Ryu takes it in quietly, not chasing the fame, and his daughter reaches him through the crowd. They share a warm look and he looks genuinely happy. She smiles and hugs him tight, and with that the operation was complete. Elsewhere, someone says things are getting really bad. A soldier goes into the sergeant's room to check on him. He tells the sergeant to rest and says he'll bring the medicine later, then steps out, closing the door, leaving him alone in the dark. We see the sergeant in bed with a compress on his forehead, looking very sick. Cold sweat runs down his neck, his skin starts to change, and at last, without anyone noticing, he awakens as a monster. The scene shifts outside, where all of the rescued people are having a great time and celebrating their survival. Among them is Dami, and most important of all, the Blue Falcon, who is holding some kind of beverage and laughing ecstatically at their mission success. He explains that when he first saw Ryu, he knew he was a very capable man, but he never believed he would be as amazing as he turned out to be, and he pats him on the back. He tells Ryu to keep up the good work, then mentions how days like these should be celebrated all night long, but they have to keep it simple. If they have too much fun, the ones who have already left them will feel sad, won't they? Therefore, Colonel suggests dedicating this party to those who already left this world, and to those who will survive until the end. He offers a can of beverage to Ryu, who looks like something is on his mind. Ryu wonders why Colonel isn't asking why he was so sure the plan would fail, and how Ryu became a monster like this. Isn't Colonel curious? Colonel tells him he knows, but he is not a backstory guy. He says he is interested in the will to save people, and those people are here. That's all you need. Ryu then tells Colonel he hasn't changed at all from the past lives he's lived through. Colonel obviously doesn't know about those timelines and asks what he means, and Ryu brushes it off. Colonel wants to ask him one thing, though. His destination was Daejeon, right? Then why is Ryu here? With his ability, he could already have gone there if he hurried. Ryu tells him it's because he has work to do at this brigade, and more importantly, he thinks back to all the times he rushed things and was impatient. The result was never good. Colonel then asks him if he is it, suggesting Ryu is a monster too. Ryu asks how he knew, and Colonel tells him he can tell just by looking at him. Then he says the thing that is closest to someone, but at the same time the hardest to control is a child. Ryu mentions he hasn't seen Shahiri in a while and asks where she's gone, while Colonel furiously slurps down his beverage, surprising Ryu and calls for more. Daimi then approaches Ryu and tells him she is going first since she is more tired than usual. Ryu gets up about to accompany her to her room while Daimi tells him she can go herself since she isn't a child anymore. But Ryu insists not taking any chances. They head off with Colonel watching them, remarking how even Ryu can be worried, making a face like that, and that he is a father after all. It is good to have somebody like him, and Colonel knows he can't let him go so easily. Thanks to Ryu, he can make a proper plan again. Just then someone approaches him and Colonel's face drops. A soldier calls out to Colonel, the brigade commander, with a shaky voice holding his hand to his neck. "We have a problem," he says. Cut to Daimi and Ryu walking in the quiet streets. Ryu thinks back to Colonel's words about how the closest thing to you is also the hardest to control his child, Daimi. Just then, Daimi looks back at him and he has something to ask her. He asks whether she isn't scared of him, considering he looks completely different now. Daimi accepted him without hesitation, seemingly. But is she really not scared of Dad? Daimi replies she is. Every day, in fact, that one day he might kill her too. And it's too hard to pretend anymore, so she demands he tell her where her real dad is, calling him a monster bastard. She places a hand on his shoulder, snapping him out of it. That was just his imagination, him worrying about her. She asks what he's doing. Thinking so hard about something, Ryu replies that it was nothing, nervously not telling her. Terrible liar. She calls it boring, and he asks if her cough got better. She tells him it just won't stop. Ryu tells her to go inside and he'll get some medicine, when his expression turns serious and his eyes flare. Looking at Daimi, he suddenly charges into her with his hand, reaching out to grab her, which shocks her, and she begins to scream when he catches something that was right about to land on her. She demands to know what got into him, asking what's wrong, and we see a mosquito in his hands. Ryu immediately recognizes it. Then Code Black is announced. Everyone is to be evacuated immediately. We see Colonel and the soldier who approached him before turning into something else. Colonel realizes the gravity of the situation. The soldier stands before him, slumped over, then looks at him with a twisted zombie face. Inside the brigade, a zombie outbreak takes place. A moment ago, Colonel and Ryu were talking about so-called eaters. He gave them that name. When Colonel first saw one, its belly was bulging, and he thought it was ugly. But when he saw the spider thing in their last mission, he thought that, in comparison, an eater is handsome. Ryu tells him they evolve, getting more cunning and powerful by the day as he sips his drink. And now Colonel realizes their threat won't stop. As the soldier lunges at him, Colonel catches it by the throat mid-air, thinking back to Ryu's words why he chose that place. Now, Colonel is holding the monster with his massive arms, veins popping everywhere. With his strength, he is able to bench press 230.5 kilograms, a force that surpasses a whole brigade, which is why he is called the Blue Hawk. He grabs the monster by its face, tearing its head clean off with his bare hands. Ryu chose that place because they have the Blue Falcon, is what he told him back then, and you can see why he dropped the thing without mercy. Soldiers gather around the zombie colonel, just finished. Wondering how something like that got inside the brigade, Cologne Hurl orders them to quickly get people to the shelter, then screams at them, asking if they all want to die standing there frozen. They quickly move everyone to the shelters. Colonel holds its head in his hand, fuming about how the virus that causes zombification got into his brigade just when he notices something on its head. The soldier had a scar, a mosquito bite on his neck, where he was holding his hand before. With no time to think about it, his attention is caught by more zombies attacking his soldiers. He rushes in and stomps his foot right into one's face, then grabs a nearby stick to smash its face in. He orders 3 soldiers to get his gear and the others to find Ryu and to hurry up. They acknowledge his orders as he is surrounded by a horde of zombies. How dare they run wild like this, he says, and slashes another in the head with his stick. This is his territory after all, and he won't let them roam free. He declares it his kingdom. He's built it himself and goes in for another strike, piercing a zombie in its throat and using that pierced zombie to throw at another one, finishing them both. Just then another surprises him from behind, and he barely manages to stop that one too, but they don't stop. One zombie after another leaps at him, completely surrounded. He screams out, ready to fight till the end if he has to cut to the survivors before the shelter. Code Black has been announced. Back inside the shelter, we see Ryu give Damien a helmet and tell her not to take it off once again. We then see her asking if it isn't a bit too much. She's wearing a full-blown suit. She asks what kind of zombie would require her to wear this much protection, and he tells her it is a mosky, super small mosquito-like zombies. If you get bitten, the incubation period varies, but you'll eventually turn into a zombie. He didn't expect this, though. It is his first time even considering his past lives seeing that kind. But so what, he braces himself. That is no excuse not to protect Damien. If she dies, everything ends. He knows the swarming moskies are just appendages, and the main body must be somewhere around the base. Outside, Chihiri is also informed about them by a soldier. He tells her they are presumed to be mosquito-type zombies and emphasizes the importance of minimizing skin exposure. The information comes directly from the expert Ryu's opinion. At the mention of his name, she is stunned and a bit contemplative. She remembers Colonel with his wide smile. She has rarely seen him like that, but he always seems to be smiling around Ryu, which kind of annoys her. A soldier asks if anything's wrong, and she admits Ryu probably knows what he is doing and immediately orders her troops to cover as much skin as possible and to join the internal suppression. She then asks a soldier where the brigade leader is, and as he is about to tell her, another soldier shouts that a single zombie is outside the brigade. They quickly brush it off, asking him if he doesn't realize there is much more going on inside. However, he mentions how that one doesn't seem normal in appearance. And well, how should he say it? It looks like a balding, ugly, stinky frog. The balding frog just stares, then opens its mouth wide, and immediately a massive swarm of mosquitoes storms out. The soldier and Chihiri are both shocked at the sight. It must be thousands. Panic breaks out, but Chihiri keeps calm and quickly tells everyone to run inside the building. Just when something catches her eye, Ryu lunges through the air above their heads like Superman, and she realizes it is him back inside the shelter. A soldier calls out to Ryu, calling him crazy. Ryu tells him that he is a civilian and they are soldiers, aren't they? Why are they not acting then? With that, he tells them he will stay and assures Dami that nothing will happen to her. But Dami tells him that with this kind of protection, not even a lion could bite her, and she says she wants everyone to live. Then Dami reaches out to him, asking if he could not just save her, but everyone around as well, begging him to do something. That is why we now see Ryu stepping up to the front line. He slams down a heavy fuel canister and aims a flamethrower at the mosquitoes, about to burn them to a crisp with fire.